It is my great pleasure to welcome all of you to this virtual CTO summit hosted by Glorium Technologies. And it was good to hear from Dimitri about a key theme, which is driving positive change. That is all what we sign up for, driving positive change through technology. I would like to express my gratitude to Glorium Tech for their unwavering support and for providing us with a perfect platform to gather and discuss the technology trends and challenges in this world of tech. In this rapidly evolving times, staying ahead of the curve is essential for our success, and the role of CTO has never been more crucial. You saw 2023 getting disrupted first by banks, credit crunch, and now talk of recession. And then the hottest one in the room, ChatGPT, AI, and all these generative technologies. This summit serves as a unique opportunity for CTOs and technical leaders of various industries to come together, exchange knowledge, and explore innovative solutions that can drive their organizations forward. Let me take a moment and talk about Glorium Tech. Glorium Tech has been at the forefront of technical advancements, consistently pushing the boundaries and setting new standards. Their commitment towards excellence and dedication for fostering collaboration within this tech community is truly commendable. By hosting this virtual summit, Glorium has not only showcased their expertise, but also provided a valuable platform for networking and knowledge sharing. Throughout this summit, we have a strong lineup of distinguished speakers, thought leaders, and industry experts who will share their insights and experiences. From discussing emerging technologies to navigating challenges of a digital transformation to talking about product roadmaps, our speakers will equip you with the tools, strategies, and technology knowledge needed to thrive in this world today. So, thank you, Dimitri. Thank you, Andre. Thank you for hosting it. With that, let's get started. All right, let me share my screen. Oh, perfect. It's right there. Okay, so can someone message me and let me know if you see the right screen? It says role of the CTO, right? All right, perfect. So today, the topic that we'll talk about is how do you define the role of a CTO? It is interesting because there is no articulated job description, and there is a strong reason why. So this talk is focused on the head of X. X could be sales, operations, technology, engineering, infrastructure. We'll focus on the role of the CTO. So to summarize the whole deck, this is the equation. A contour integral of stage and phases is how you define the role of a CTO. Let's deep dive and understand what are these terms. What does it mean to have a stage and a phase of a product or a company? HBR or Harvard Business Review or Harvard did a long running research where they connected with thousands of SMBs to figure out the stage of the evolution of a product or a company. What they found out was there were certain traits that were unique to these stages, and there were five stages of any company. The other interesting part of this research, they focused on small, medium businesses where each of these companies had one product. So the way I process this information is this is my product life cycle. Every product will go through this life cycle. And if your company has one product, this is what you will experience. But at the same time, we know the reality in the SaaS world, where the expectation from the investor is around perpetual growth, all the companies or a lot of companies build an ecosystem versus committing to one product. A good example of that, let's see, we have Atlassian. Atlassian has tools like Jira, Confluence, Bitbucket, Status Page. All these are independent products on their own life cycle, and they focus on one persona. So Atlassian is all about serving developers, and they build different tools, different products to target that persona. And then you have companies like HubSpot. They're in marketing. They have lots of products. I think it's Sales Hub, Marketing Hub, Operations Hub. All these hubs are collection of tools. What they have done is they have, in order for them to expand, they started to target different personas. But all of this is still in B2B business. So their core is they will sell to businesses, but they will target different personas, different buyers when they go out to the market. And then there is third category of the companies like Intuit. Intuit has a TurboTax product, which is B2C. It targets customers so that way you can file your taxes without any hassle, without any pain points. And then you have products like QuickBooks, which is accounting software for small businesses. Intuit, chasing growth, spends time in both the areas, B2B and B2C. All these are SaaS companies, multiple products, and each of the product will go through these stages. So now we have understood what stages are. Let's deep dive and understand how they impact how we see the world. So stages, as we know, stages are the growth maturity of how a product evolves. Each stage has a different focus, and that determines what are the key metrics that the product is after. And I'll also tell you why understanding stage and phase is important for you as a leader. So, 5 stages: you have existence, survival, success, takeoff, and resource maturity. When you are in your existence phase, that means the company or the product is being born. What you're solving for is the vision and the mission of the company. What is that you want your product to do? What are the problems that you will solve? Your key metrics are your burn rate and team health, because you might have limited seed capital. You want to be very deliberate about how you spend that capital. And same thing with your team health. You're hiring people who would be co-founders in this stage because the product is not ready. You're still crafting your vision and mission. So the team, the people you hire, they will have the fingerprints on this product. So you're being very deliberate about what kind of people you attract. Once you get out of that with an MVP, now you are in front of your customers, experimenting a lot, figuring out what resonates with them, what is their pain point, and what do you need to build as an MVP. MVP is minimal viable product, which is a core functionality of the feature set, which is complete enough to get a job done. Key metrics for that phase is your CAC, which is your customer acquisition cost, your LTV, which is customer lifetime value, and MRR. So you're deliberately balancing the cash flow, which is how much are you spending in acquiring customers, how much are they paying you, and then looking at it from month to month basis, because you know the churn would be high. You still have an MVP. Once you get to the next stage, which is success, you unlock success when you hit a product market fit. What does that mean? From a customer perspective, you have a baked product that they like, that they want to use more and more of. So you've hit the jackpot. People know who you are and what you do. The key metrics that you start to look in this phase are utilization. How many people are using the product? They have bought the product, they're paying for it, but how are they utilizing it? The next metric you look at is ARR as NRR and NRRs, which is longer term view of how the money is flowing. Are customers staying with you? If they are staying with you, are they buying more? You buy more when you love something, when you like something. So that those are the key indicators of your resonating success with the customers. The third one is NPS. Are they happy with their services and offerings? As you get closer to the end state of success, you start to see takeoff, which is you're running into scale challenges. Now, everyone wants a part of it. Everyone wants to onboard onto your services. They like what you have to offer. Now you're going viral. So now The focus shifts from product market fit towards scale. The conversation would change from utilization to product velocity. It would be like you would get, as a CTO, as a head of engineering or head of technology, you would get questions around how can you move faster? Do we need to hire more people? Do we need to drive more automation? All of these coming from a good place because the product took off and you're in the scaling mode. You'll have a few outages. And this is where good stories are formed when people talk about battle wounds and battle scars. Long nights. This is the phase, which is take off. You focused on optimizing how do I get more and more features out? How do I maintain reliability? And then the similar focus from sales on magic number, which is how much are you spending on your sales and marketing and how many customers are you getting in the door? Once you exit takeoff, which is you now you are a household name, everyone knows who you do, what you do, they like the product that you've built, you've attained a certain market penetration. Now no more hyper growth, but you start to stabilize and you are a market leader. Then you get into the resource maturity, where the focus is optimization. The conversations or the key metrics would shift from velocity to capex, opex. What is your revenue to engineering ratio? Where are your teams spending time? How can you get more from the coordination and collaboration? So these are the five stages of a product evolution. And now we understand how stages connect with the area of focus and what key metrics drive those conversations. So now let's talk about the next thing, which is growth phase. What's a phase? I describe this as, so all of you have been through colleges and schools. You go through fourth grade, fifth grade, sixth grade, seventh grade. These grades are stages. And then inside of these grades, you have first semester, second semester, third semester. Those are phases. And in terms of business, product stage is all about business or your product. Product phase is all about people. There are two core components for any company. What is your product? Who are your people? Put them together and you exactly know what the game plan is. So, very similar to stages, phases are divided into five phases, and they are the same, what we saw on the previous slide. And now let's see how to use them. So, as we said, stages are about product or your business, phases are about people. People play a specific role. So let's see what the mappings are. In existence phase, the company or people focus on creativity. You hire more and more people that are creative, who love people who love ambiguity. They just want a whiteboard and they want to have no constraints and do things. Your role as a chief, in order for the company to be successful, for the product to be successful, will be that of a veteran, where you will start to lay the ground rules, where you will talk about the future, what challenges we will run into, what will the future look like, and why should we be excited. Once you get out of existence, you move into survival. It's more about direction. So with existence, you have set where you want to be. Now with survival, you're creating a path on how to get there. So as a leader, your role now changes. You were laying the ground foundation, and now you're providing frameworks and principles that will help your team think about the direction in the right way. It's also called paved path in Netflix lingo, where you pave a path for everyone to follow and think about it a certain way that will lead to right outcomes. The third one is success. Now, in success phase, you have hit product market fit. You're aggressively hiring people or scaling your business. The focus shifts from direction to delegation. Now you delegate, you empower your leaders, other leaders who are part of your team. Your role shifts towards driving accountability and ownership. You set up those rituals, those meetings, the all the conversation that have to be had. That way people feel accountable and they have the ownership of the outcome. And then it's the takeoff stage where everyone's working hard towards scaling the product. It all is about coordination. Sales working with marketing, working with engineering, working with product. All these orgs have to come together or coordinate to get the product out, to help it scale. Your role in this one is all focused on killing the overhead. Because if you want to scale, you have to be very deliberate about what are people doing. Are they spending time on the right things? Because scaling, remember, is hard. And this is the longest phase for anyone, which is the takeoff. And then you plateau and you stabilize. And then you shift your focus and you become the grown up in the room. You start to ask hard questions around money, around resources. You start to optimize every little thing because you know what? Bottom line or EBITDA matters. So now we have a good understanding of what is a stage of a business and what is the phase of a business. Now let's talk about how to use them. Oh, so on first slide you saw we said the role of the CTO is an integral or a counter integration of stage and the phase. So when you walk into an organization, they won't tell you what stage they're in, what phase they're in. It's your job to assess and figure out where is the product, where is the company, and depending on that, your role will change, your expectations will evolve. So now you understand what is phase, what is stage. Now let's talk about the role of the CTO or role of a chief X officer, CXO. There are five key pillars to any role: executive, where you serve the investors, where you serve the board, where you serve the CEO. In this role, you make sure that the people who are giving you money, who are investing in your product, in your vision, in your company, they have clarity, they have a clear roadmap. They know what would the exit look like, what will growth look like. A good way to measure it is from their sentiment. Just have an open conversation with your investors, with your board, and ask them how they're feeling about the future. The second pillar is around people leadership. Building a product or running a business is a team sport. You will be surrounded by a lot of smart people, and it's your job to ensure they are well served. They're happy to be working on this product. They're excited about the future, and they have clarity on what their role is. They feel empowered to do the right things. So that is your role, again, as the CXO. The third one is the innovator. In this particular case, you are the head of technology. So it's your job to make sure you create an environment, you ask the right questions, and serve your customers really well. As a CTO, you could be serving a product org or the customers directly or the sales org, depending upon how your organization is structured. But the goal is, as an innovator, you connect with your customers, understand their pain points, and build better products, build better solutions to delight them, to make them happy. The fourth one is around an evangelist. As the face of a department or an organization, it's your job to make sure there is alignment across the board. So if you're the CTO, it's your job to work with the CRO, which is the Chief Revenue Officer, CMO, Chief Marketing Officer, COO, Chief Operations Officer, CFO, the Chief Financial Officer. That way they are aligned. They have visibility into your 6, 12, 24-month roadmap. They understand where you are taking technology or the product or the function that you run, and they are aligned with the outcome. This will help them internalize the message, and put a plan accordingly because we win as a team. And the last one is around being an adept manager. You are very much responsible for budgeting, planning, organization design, all the things that a manager does, all the things that would drive efficiency and effectiveness in the organization. So these are the five pillars of your role. All right. So I think I'm at the end of my time, but the overall takeaway of this one, the role of the CTO depends on two things: the stage of the company and the phase of your product. It's a union of executive leadership, people leadership, innovator, manager, and an evangelist. So if you want to be successful in any of these roles, the first thing that you do is walk in and ask questions to understand the phase of the company, which is you will look at the maturity level. What are people struggling with? Is there direction? Is there accountability? So once you have determined phase, you know what your role would look like. Same thing you do with stage. You look at different business metrics. You look at the outcome that the company is after, and then you craft a plan keeping that in mind. The outcome of that is a job description that will help you be successful in that role. So when people ask what do CTOs do or what does a CXO do, they one they ask a lot of questions to understand these two things, which is the stage of the company, the phase of the company. Once you have a good understanding of that, you create a plan of action, which is your job description. So this was the session on one of the talk. Next year, or I will write a blog on this one, will be session two, where we will talk about things like the rule of 3 and 10 and what strategies do people employ to be successful in these roles. And now we can have some Q&A.
Thank you very much, Rachit. This was very interesting and looking at the different stages of the companies. And I'm looking for the audience to start asking questions on that. With that is, how do you see, what is the maybe a quick question like what are the key questions to ask when you are seeing the first time the company or the CXO of that company to understand what stage they're in?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a really good question. So let's take an example. All right. So we have this fictitious company called XYZ Technologies, right? And we don't know anything about the company. So, and you're appointed as the CTO, you walk in. Few questions that you would ask is, what metrics are you focused on? Where is the product? Show me the product. If they come back and say, oh, we don't have a product yet, but we have raised money, keeping these things in mind, you know they are in the existence phase. They are nascent. They're being born. And this is the phase that I really, really love because you get to shape the future. You're not scaling something that is already done, but you get to plant the seed, and now you know what the outcome would look like. So if the product does not exist, it's mostly around the vision and this mission, then you are in the existence
Sure.
phase of your existence stage. If the product exists but is changing really, really fast, and you still don't have your marquee customers, you are in your survival phase or stage.
Okay.
So the question you will ask is, who are your top customers? Why are people leaving? What features are resonating? Who are your competition? What's working? What's not working? Because you are in that survival mode. The goal is win that deal. In survival, you're not winning a lot of deals. The goal is to win a few hearts, right? That way you become,
Yes.
that way you have more and more evangelists for your products. The next one is success, where if you walk in fresh and new, You will be showcased this shiny product that people like. You might even have heard of them. The product owners, the product managers, the CEO will talk about how much the product is utilized, the ARR numbers, the NRR numbers. You will start to see more and more maturity in how they show up. Why?
Mm-hmm.
They have tasted what success looks like. And if you start to see a lot of stress in the environment, and it's good stress, right? It puts you in that state of flow, you are in scale. If the conversations quickly jump towards how do we move faster? Oh, that we're not able to keep our product up. We're getting a lot of customer complaints around these areas, or we're leaking too many bugs in production. All of those are symptoms of takeoff or scale. So if you are hearing more and
Excellent.
more of that,
Yeah.
then you're in that stage. If the questions are around how do we not spend more money, how do we stabilize the market, how do we cut down on sales and marketing, how do we keep R&D flat, that means you are in resource maturity. This is my least favorite because I don't thrive in that. I usually love bigger
Mm-hmm.
teams and I love to grow them. But again, this is a very critical phase
Yes.
for any business, right? Which is where you have like the Apple, Google, most of
Yeah.
Amazon are in resource maturity. They're not growing at crazy rate,
Yeah.
but they have gotten to a point where they are the big influencers. They influence where tech goes. So resource maturity is for people who love large scale problems. And similarly, so as said, stages is about business. Now you look at these business metrics, you can figure out what is the product stage. Same thing for product phase. Phase is about you and me, it's about people. What kind of people are working on the product? What
Mm-hmm.
is their level of expertise? Mature is usually a wrong word, so let's stick with mature expertise. What level of expertise are they at? If you walk in and you see utter chaos and everything is about being ingenious or creativity, you know it's in existence. It's just being born. The interesting thing about this is you could be in, if you look at the stage of the company, you could be success and just entering success. And when you're entering success, you are redoing your processes. You are in existence phase of stage that is success. So you don't know what success would look like. So as a leader, you would get a lot of questions around, hey, if this takes off, what will happen?
Yeah.
Or what are the target customers that we should focus on? What should we build? Because we're getting so many requests. So what your role in that will become that of a veteran, which will be, I've been here, I've done this, and this is how you operate. So you provide more and more guidance. You share more and more stories because people are excited about entering a new phase. They are excited about the future. And it's your job to keep them excited and engaged. The next one is, again, the focus is people. If there are no frameworks, people know what has to be done, but there is no structure. There is chaos. Then you provide direction. And that is how you know if you walk into it and you ask questions like, how do you build software? Is your SDLC documented? If the answer is no, you know it's getting out of existence into survival mode,
Mm-hmm.
where people have a lot of institutional knowledge, which are unwritten rules, but they don't know if everyone agrees to those rules, and no one will write them down because they don't know if those are the right rules or not. So, as a leader, when you walk in, that is the first thing you do. You pull the end on cord and ask people to write things down. You ask them, how do we think about our frameworks? What frameworks will we use? What are the guiding principles? What are the different conflicts that we will run into? When do you escalate? Who do you escalate to? How do you resolve issues? A good question in this would be, if teams are still debating what cloud to go after, that means they're missing a framework. And that would be your job. Your job is to not give them a solution because that is not a scalable part. Your job is to give them a working framework. That means, as an IC, as an individual contributor, or as a manager, or as a director, or as a VP, I can run my question through your framework and get an answer.
Yeah.
Frameworks are powerful, but that is what you will do in the survival mode. The third one is
Yeah.
around success. A lot of teams running, doing their own things. They're not talking to each other, missing deadlines, timelines, and there is this brewing tension. Like, I am feeling stuck. I cannot do this because that team did not deliver. If that is what you're walking into, that means they have touched success and they're growing from it. So you will focus on delegation. You will show them how to delegate. Delegation does not mean this is your job, you do it, and I'm done. Nope. Delegation is driving accountability, ownership with these frameworks and setting them up for success. And then having regular touch points to make sure that the team or the people are on track. The fourth one is around takeoff. If there is a lot of red tape, everyone keeps talking about these meetings, not able to do their job, and you're not seeing good outcomes, you are in the takeoff stage. That means you have a strong product market fit, but people are struggling to scale themselves because we're still in that habit of, I can do it all. But guess what? When you're going to this hyper growth phase, you cannot do it all. So you go back to being command and control because things are not working as they're supposed to. You're having too many outages. When you have outages, you have these big customers who will call you and tell you, if you don't get your act right, I'm going to kill your contract or I'm moving out to a different product. So as a leader, you are under a lot of stress and duress. So what do? You go back to the old habit of command and control, which is, I will tell you what has to be done. You forget that you have provided those frameworks and principles. This is where you have to take a different point of view and figure out, how do you remove red tape from the system? How do you remove those unnecessary meetings? How do you remove those unnecessary questions and inject more and more of automation so your teams feel empowered? Your teams can move faster. There is transparency into the system. And the last one is resource maturity, right? Where it's not your intra team, but your inter teams communicating with each other. If sales is having trouble with product is not working with engineering, then it's your role to be a grown up and start to have those conversations. But this is, if you walk into an organization and ask them, what phase are you in, you will never get a clear answer.
Sure.
It's your job to figure out what how do you balance out phase, and you can use any terms, right? This is just to provide you with a framework, but the goal is, you cannot build an action plan until you know where are you on that maturity curve. Once you have a good understanding of where you are in your stages and phases, it's very easy to put together a plan. And how does this help? I'm pretty sure a lot of you must have heard it. In order for an executive to be effective, it takes about 2 to 5 years, and then you start to see the results. And that is mostly because people don't spend a lot of time in understanding the phase and the stage. There is no clear framework. So you try a few things to get to the right outcomes, which takes time. You can bypass all of that if you're given a clear problem statement. So when you walk into an organization, job number one is to write the problem statement. How do you write that problem statement? By asking these questions, which is, what stage you're in, what metrics are you looking at, show me your product, who are your top customers. We'll tell you all about the business because we know stage is all about the business. And then tell me about your people. How do they operate? Talk to a few ICs. And that will give you a clear indication of what is the phase of the company. The other thing to keep in mind, these stages and phases are for products, not for the whole company.
Company.
And the reason for that is, Companies can have multiple products. Each product will have its own life cycle. A good example, Google, right? You have Gmail, which is probably on resource optimization, which is resource maturity, level 5. They know exactly what has to be done. They're very clear about their outcomes. Teams know how to operate. They've been doing this for a very
Mhm.
long time.
Yeah.
And then you have products like GCP, where they have tasted success, but there is still a lot of chaos in there, right? They've aggressively hired, and I think this last quarter, or the recent quarter, was the first time where they cracked profit. So they're
Yes.
inching towards takeoff now. They will experience the same thing what Amazon did. The growth is slowing down, but I'm hoping this is all because of the recessionary talks that we're in. But you see now, Google, one company, every product has its own maturity curve.
Sure. Uh, how do you keep yourself honest with the who you are? Because you are very clear on that. You don't like being in the resource optimization part of the product, because that's not what excites you. And it's very important. And I know people who does an amazing job on that phase, because they love to optimize and get better of that product. So how do you make sure that you are you're honest to yourself and you know your limitations?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So the interesting thing about a lot of people is we know what we want, but we don't know how to get there, right? CTO is a big title. We all like the title. It comes with a lot of
Mm,
responsibilities, a lot of impact. So we jump at it without understanding what we are signing up for.
sure.
And no one's hiding anything. The whole system is transparent. But the reality is the role of a CTO evolves really fast with the evolution of the company. That means you cannot write a job description for that role. When you join the company, you write the job description. This is the part that gets missed out. This is the part that gets lost. So
All right.
once you have these frameworks, you can ask the right questions in your interviews. Be open about it, and be clear. Like, hey, I love phase one, two, three, not a fan of four or five. And this is the reason why I can be successful in these areas. If not, I can hire the right people.
All right. Another question coming up is, can this is from Mahmoud, is can the CTO free himself and herself from the daily hardships while day-to-day affairs take up your time?
Yeah. So there is a blog, I think, I don't know if I published or not, but there is a difference in CTO and a VP of engineering. And that also depends upon where are you on your maturity curve. If it's a group
Hmm.
of 10 people, then you might not even have an engineering manager. CTO plays the
Sure.
role of an EM. If there are 5 people, you are probably the co-founder and an IC, right?
Yeah.
So it depends upon what is the size of the company. But the role of the CTO, we talked about those 5 pillars. One of them is that of an executive. If you are running a team of 1,000, 2,000, 5,000 people, that pie chart, the exec section becomes like 60, 70%. If you're
Hmm.
spending, so one key thing to look at, try this exercise with your calendar today. Look at your calendar. You have those 5 key roles that we talked about, or I can share my screen really quick and show you what those were.
Sure.
Uh, that way we don't forget. Share screen. Oh, where did it go? All right, window. Can you see my screen?
Not yet. But go ahead. I mean, just talk about that. That'll be great.
Okay. All right. So we talked about those 5 key roles, or
Hmm.
5 key roles, which is executive, people leader, innovator, evangelist, manager.
Yes.
Look at your calendar and tag all of these events. Where are you spending your time?
Yeah.
If you don't like that, figure out how do you change the composition. If you want to spend more time innovating, then hire your engineering manager who would do the managerial part. If you want to be more of an executive, then figure out what do you need to do to free up more and more of time from other sections. Maybe you don't want to be that innovator. Maybe you don't want to spend a lot of time with sales. Then hire someone to do that. But
All right.
this needs to be a very deliberate decision on how you want to solve it. And it all starts with your calendar. What does your calendar look like? If you're jumping into a lot of calls, that means either you've not hit that resource maturity curve, or you're optimizing for the wrong outcomes. So just look at your calendar, tag all of these events happening on your work schedule, figure out what the composition is. That will give you a good sense of what are you focused on. And if there are things that you don't like, figure out how will you delegate it. A good example would be if you're spending too much time in your day to day, maybe you need a VP of engineering who would be inward focused, running the engineering teams. And then you
Yeah.
hold that VP of engineering accountable for the outcomes.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Rachit. And there was a very, I would say, a compliment. Saba is telling that the way you talk and express looks like Vishen Lakhani, Malaysian entrepreneur. I don't know if you know him or not, but is very, very cool. And this is a very good insights. Thank you very much. And looking forward to following your blogs and getting more insights from you.
Absolutely. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for hosting. Right. Take care.